The seagulls follow trawler. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Yes, here we go. It's Monday night. The Monday Club back on a Monday. One of those rare occasions where the Bhoycie brothers managed to pull themselves together to do a Monday Club on a Monday as it's meant to be. Jonathon Boyce, how the devil are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Perhaps not quite as exuberant as young Regan was on the show yesterday, but I'm going to try my best to match his enthusiasm levels.
Jonathon, it was something else Regan yesterday, just cutting about his, just cutting about, and I don't even know where he was going. He looked like he was in Sherwood Forest, mate, but no one knows. We do know, though, that he is safe and well. I don't know where he ended up, who he was going to see, but he was out on a wild one. It was brilliant fun having him on the bus. I sound like I'm underwater again. Do I?
I sound a wee bit.
Do I?
I don't think you sound too bad.
I'm on the normal microphone.
You sound all right to me.
No, someone else. Your mic is crap again. Someone else saying echo. Not a great start to the show, Jonathon.
Oh, that's not a good start to the show. No, I can't hear the echo on my end. Maybe it's just my ears. Delicate.
How do we sound now? Hello.
Oh, that sounds different. Well, let's see how that goes.
Does it sound bad now?
No, that sounds louder.
Sounds like you've got a sock over your mic. I hate this stuff. I've not got a clue, man. It still sounds like a tin of beans now. Jonathon is clear. Much better. Right, okay, apparently it's much better.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I didn't know it's a huge deal difference on that side, but if they're saying it's better, that'll be it better.
Yeah, we'll just go with what the passengers say, mate. We'll just go with what the passengers say. Must be folk listening to this on Spotify sometimes, mate, going, they are the biggest two amateurs in the history of the world. But who cares? Anyway, as always, big thank you, fanboyfootball.com. He was in touch today, Jonathon, to say, and I've got to give a big shout out to Mr. James Wright, Australian Jonathon, right? Viewer, passenger, if you like. He's bought the hat trick of t-shirts, mate. A hat trick. He's bought all three. He also bought me and Regan a beer for Sunday using the PayPal link, which I don't promote very often, but it's there because it keeps us all happy, motivate us all. And what's happened is James Wright has bought all three. I sent him a huge thank you email, and he's saying he just loves the bus down in Australia. So a big thank you to you and for fanboyfootball.com for flagging it to me that a guy was the first James Wright to buy the hat trick of Boyce bus t-shirts. Now, not only are we to thank fanboyfootball.com, Jonathan, I feel that we have to thank the passengers for their unwavering support in what has been an incredible 4.5 months so far on the bus. This is our 86th show, I believe, Jonathan, in 4.5 months. All shows have been a minimum of 1 hour. Some of them ran over 2 hours. Let's be honest, it's over 130,000 views in 85. No one's seen this coming, did they? An average of 1,500, I think that is, per show. Admittedly, they're not all getting that number, but I think we've done all right. We've got a wee team developing. You're seeing more familiar faces, a bit like yourself, appearing more and more often. People are growing in confidence. The bus love is getting there. And in the biggest development you'll ever hear, on Sunday, post-match pish, because I cannot be there, David Logue is going to take the keys, mate. David Logue, there he is. He is going to run the bus for us on Sunday for post-match pish, which is a big call after a Rangers game. We had a good chat about it today. I've got no doubts David will do a fantastic job, and a huge thank you to him for that, and everyone who's appeared on the bus so far. Now, Jonathan, one other person we need to thank, and I think that's Ange Postecoglou, because we are sitting top of the league. We are looking down on the Rangers. We never, ever were meant to be 4 games to go, needing to drop points, and 3 out of the 4 left. Jonathan, we need to be honest, mate. Right now, we are meant to be talking about your wee gimmick for the show, and it's been good fun having Jonathan's knockout blow, whatever he calls it, you know. Let's just get straight to that, though. Surely the knockout blow was picking up the 3 points yesterday, and I don't mean, you know, the weekend's knockout blow being Tyson Fury's beautiful uppercut of Dillian White. We'll talk about that a wee bit later for a wee bit of a laugh. But the knockout blow surely is Celtic going to Dingwall, taking 3 points and making this now checkmate. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, if it was a boxing match, the referee would be checking on Rangers. They'd be seeing those eyes are rolled into the back of their head, and it is time for their coach to throw the towel in if this was a boxing match. It was an outstanding performance under the pressure and circumstances after the defeat, the previous week where the treble hopes were extinguished. But you wouldn't have known it at all watching how Celtic performed. And, you know, it should have been far more comfortable than it actually was, particularly in that first half. A lot of excellent performances across the team. I think, obviously, one of your most obvious choices would be Diego Jota. You know, I even noticed Andy Walker was quick to give him man of the match. I know we're going to touch upon his performance later.
Yes.
Takes his goal very well. But for me, I'm going to look at the other side of the pitch. And when things got a little bit nervous, I know a lot of people didn't like the BBC coming out with a Celtic a nervy win, which I understand in some ways, but there was points in that second half where it was getting a little bit more antsy and a bit more nervous when we were only 1-0 up. And the man who's getting my knockout of the week is the man who kept it all together and was the man who would probably be the only guy I would fancy getting in the ring with a Tyson Fury-like figure, and that is Cameron Carter-Vickers. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. I thought he was his head on everything. He makes a stupendous block in the second half as well, and it's 1-0. And you know, he just came on leaps and bounds throughout the game, and I just felt he grabbed it by the scruff of the neck and made sure they got very little in the way of chances. And the reason why he gets it as well is because although people are saying it's nervy, Cameron Carter-Vickers made sure it was never, ever going to be as nervy as it could have been. He made sure Uncle Joe behind him had very little to do, and that is why he is the knockout of the week for me.
Oh, I love it, mate. I love it. And you know, the knockout of the week, obviously, Jonathan, we like our wrestling connotation. I know he likes a David Logue, Phil McGinley like that as well. CCV, that could be a wrestler's name as well. Here he comes, weighing in at 200 pounds. The mighty CCV. But he has been immense so far, hasn't he? What a job he's done. And I think you're absolutely right. I think folk forget he plays with a maturity way beyond his years as well. And don't get me wrong, I mean, he looks older than me, let's be honest. All right, that's a push. But he genuinely, for a 23-year-old, 24, plays way beyond these years. And by the way, can I just say as well, plays way beyond the amount of professional appearances he's made. I'm sure he only crossed the 100 appearances threshold whilst at Celtic, Jonathon, his club career, which isn't that amount, that great a number for 23, 24. I think he plays way beyond himself. And what I also like about Cameron Carter-Vickers, Jonathon, he seems to, for want of a better term, get it. He gets it. I think for a guy coming from the EPL, the riches of the EPL, albeit not someone who plays regularly for Spurs, if ever, right? But still, they're prima donnas, let's be honest, right through that league. Even, the Arsenal reserves are like a boy band, let's be honest, mate. 10 minutes between them, and you know what I mean? They're all millionaires driving Lamborghinis, Cameron Carter-Vickers came up like, I don't know, like a painter and decorator, mate. Plays with the shirt hanging out often, just looks rough and ready. He's no airs or graces about him. Albeit, by the way, don't let that be fooled that he's not got very good technique from the back, which I've commented on a few times. Certain passes he's made when I've been doing like a fan cam live, I've went, wow, did you see him do that? But in general, his whole demeanour is like someone who's more of a veteran than what would be, I think, Jonathon, a very shrewd investment at £6 million. And I think we've all toyed with the numbers. There was a supposed online journalist, or whatever he's called today, saying it's only £2 million for Cameron Carter-Vickers.
Wow.
Which I struggle to believe. But in fairness, I also struggle to believe the £10 million rumour that was flying about in the first half of the season. £6 million, though, to me, that sounds roughly in the middle anyway, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think £6 million in 2022, I think that is an absolute snip. And remember, no bidding in period, no adjustment time. He's already a part of it. It's a no-brainer to make sure, no matter what happens, even if the unthinkable was to happen, Jonathon, it won't be on CCV if we don't win this league. He's done every single thing he can possible. That deal has to be done, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think we've talked about it at length on the shows previously that, Carter-Vickers, out the two of them, if you could only take one of them, I think, you go for Carter-Vickers over Jota potentially. But of course, looking at the fact now that the league title is within touching distance, you want to be greedy. You want them both. We should be having them both. There's absolutely no reason not to. But when you look at Carter-Vickers' performances this season, they've just been so good. You've almost forgotten completely about a guy like Christopher Julian, who's now completely lost in the B team. And you don't even miss the fact he's no longer a part of the squad at all. He very well be phased out completely now. And Carter-Vickers, it's like you say, he just comes across as a guy who's just got so much more experience than he actually does. He looks like he could be like a 30-year-old playing at centre-half with barrel loads of experience, so calm, composed. And I think that was so important on Sunday, when things were beginning to get a little bit more nervous in the second half. Ross County did come into the game a bit more because we didn't kill them off, and they did have their moments in the second half where they had us under a bit of pressure. And, I think he just made sure that the defence was just not going to get beat. And I think he brings out a lot of confidence, in particular in Carl Starfelt, that's playing centre-half with him. I think Starfelt has came on to a much better game. And I think that's all because Carter-Vickers installs a lot of confidence into him. And I think it breeds confidence throughout the team, having a guy, his ability, his stature. And I think he's got quite a bit of influence, as well. I could see him becoming a leader if he was to stay at Celtic for a number of years, potentially a captain-like figure. If he was to be here for another 3 or 4 years, he has every possibility to make that sort of jump. And you're just looking at him and you just think it's an absolute no-brainer. I mean, imagine if we weren't to sign him. Where do you even go at centre-half there then, Russell?
What do you mean?
Like, if you weren't to sign him, then who would actually then end up coming in? You'd go back into the market.
Yeah. I know you're gonna. Sorry, I know what you mean now. I mean, like, if you're going back into the market, then what's your investment sort of policy on this? Like, how much are you willing to spend? Because to get someone to adapt straight into that Celtic first team as a new signing is going to be a hell of a lot tougher than it is with Carlton Vickers. If you're looking for better value or a lesser transfer fee, again, you're going to get lesser quality. You know, it's going to be there's more of a gamble element, shall we say? We're not completely dismissing the fact there's always the odd gem out there, Jonathan. But really, when you've got the proved, tried and trusted evidence in front of you that Cameron Carter-Vickers has brought this season, 6 million, I'll say it again, 6 million is not 2022 to 23 season big transfer fees. In fact, it's absolute pence, Jonathan, that we'll be spending if we get him for that. So I think we have to be very, very proactive on that one and continually trying to ensure Cameron Carter-Vickers, whilst he's at the club as well, as being appreciated, is enjoying his time. Because also, and we are going to talk about Jota later, but the same thing regards to CCV is, Jonathan, that basically, if you're going to take your eye off the ball with him, it's great having, I think the Red Baron or Bob McBob was asking, do we have an option to buy? Yes, we do. It's Red Baron, it is CCV a loan to buy. So this was meant to be this. And for me, it was a lot more palatable, the 2 loan signings this season, rather than being the John Joe Kenny's going, what the fuck is this 6 month point? What is the point of signing a guy for 5 months? The two loan signings, both Jota and Cameron Carter-Vickers, both came with the option to buy. Celtic have first option, right? Now, which sounds great on paper, but like I'm always quick to remind you all, it really means all. Just the optics look better. Do you know what I mean? Because let's be honest, if these guys have got a whiff of interest from, I don't know, a top 8 English Premier League club, for example, right? That's, a Wolves that can offer 60,000 a week to them both. Then do you really think they're not getting in touch with their agent somehow? And the only thing that can scupper an option to buy deal isn't the fee agreed. Celtic will be held to that, which is fine, because that's been agreed already. But the only thing that can scupper the deal is the player themselves saying, actually, I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to go there. Do you know what I mean? That could well happen with both. So it's very important that we keep a relationship with Cameron Carter-Vickers, who we're talking about right now, to be really positive, Jonathan, to ensure that the contribution he's making is being respected and vice versa. Let's hope that he's enjoying his time too. I think the extra responsibility that we just spoke about there, he's playing with the maturity. I think he's thrived on that, mate. I think he's enjoyed being the guy that is the glue for a Starfield that you were talking about a minute ago. I think he likes that. I think he likes going, I've made you better. And just, without a doubt, completely invested in this as a partnership. Because you spoke about Chris Julian, you're saying maybe it's easy to forget. I wouldn't go as far as forget, but I think it's a very deliberate decision Ange has made that I'm not breaking this up, because that's the foundation of what is an out-and-out attacking team, Jonathan, a team that are going to be playing in the front foot more often than not. How important it is to have that solid foundation and understanding, a bond, etc., is vital for Ange's system to work. I think Cameron Carter-Vickers undoubtedly has been the main centre-half for us. But Carl Starfelt the last 3-4 months has been tremendous as well, albeit I think Cameron Carter-Vickers takes a lot of credit for that, if I'm honest.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think it definitely breathed confidence into Starfelt there totally when it comes to, I think, as you rightly say, with Carter-Vickers, he just knows how to get the rest of the defence all G'd up and ready to go, because he leads from the front and he's just got that natural leadership, ability about him there. So I think, with Carter-Vickers, it's, as I say, an absolute no-brainer that Celtic have to be trying to do whatever they possibly can to convince him his future lies at Celtic Park. And to be fair, I think Carter-Vickers is going to sign on at Celtic. I'm more confident on Carter-Vickers than I would be on Jota, and I'll tell you why. I think it's because Carter-Vickers hasn't really had a stable point in his career. He's been out on loan a few times from Spurs. He's not really had a chance to settle in anywhere. He's been in and out of different teams for the last number of years, whereas he knows if he comes to Celtic, he is the number one centre-back. There's no two ways about it. If he signs up for Celtic, he is signing on as such an essential component of Ange's team that he's gonna be starting every week as long as he's fit. He knows he's going to be in a place where the fans are going to love him. He's also now on the brink of playing in the Champions League, which hopefully should be finalised in the next couple of weeks with where Celtic now are in the league table. So again, it's another chance for him to prove himself against some of the best players that the world has to offer. So for me, I can't see any reason why Cardiff Vickers wouldn't sign unless somebody, as you say, down in the Premiership was to offer him crazy money. But I think at this point in his career, I don't see that happening. I think he probably still needs another year or two. He is still a wee bit raw around the edge. I think for a Premiership club to be looking at him seriously at this stage. But it's such a good option for Celtic to have, and he's such an integral part of why Celtic have won or on the brink of winning the league this season. One can't say that until it's done, can you? You can't say it until it's done.
You'll be. Are we
I
mean
know.
Van Souness? Van Souness will be watching, mate. You've got to watch out for that rascal. I've never been more popular with that wee bastard in my life right now since his original account got deleted and he's had to restart. You can tell he's hanging on to my every word these days, Jonathan, just trying to get a bit of traction to try and build up his Twitter followers. You know the one I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah,
he's actually all right laugh, by the way. He's on all right laugh. He messages, he'll send you a DM. We actually have an all right wee bit of patter. I know people can't get their head around that, but he's actually all right. But yes, Jonathan, if you were to make a comment like we've already won the league and it weren't to happen, I think he'd be the first one to go, pull that out the locker and be sharing it virally. You know what I mean? Let him do that with other stuff. Now, let's talk, Jonathan. It's not just about one player, one position. I think Celtic, we were looking for reasons, Jonathan, why the performance last week fell below the standard that we were looking for. I think it's very easy to get caught up in that because of the disappointment. I think also we need to go, right, look, perspective, and we did a wee bit of this in the show last week. Obviously we were saying on Friday, you reflect, remove, erase. You reflect on, you take your hits. This was a team, Jonathan. This is a team, not was. This is a team right now on a 28-game unbeaten run in the league, 24 wins, 4 draws. That is title-winning form. Every day of the week in any league in the world. That is title-winning form. That has nothing to do with Steven Gerrard leaving Rangers, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst coming in and having a different results. It has nothing to do with us being maybe poorer than we would have hoped in Europe. It has nothing to do with losing a 117th minute winner in extra time, 3 minutes to go of extra time to lose by an odd goal. It's got nothing to do with any of that. Were we over worrying about yesterday because of the result the week before, Jonathan? And really, the body of evidence is there to suggest, why the fuck are you worried about Celtic? Since, as Ange says, since round 6, mate, you try and find a flaw in their tilt to the title, and it's got nothing to do with our rivals, by the way, because we beat them twice on the road as well.
Yeah, I think obviously, given the fact we did lose the cup semi-final, there was naturally going to be a bit of disappointment there. I think also you're looking at this season, and if you go back right to the start, I think a lot of people are just amazed that we're in this position, and we're almost thinking this is too good to be true, and there's bound to be a sting in the tail somewhere along the line. But the stats and everything else all pointed towards the fact that Postecoglou is going to win this championship completely and 100% on merit with how the results have gone. Previous seasons when Celtic have won the league, take away last season where it was just a non-contest. The seasons before that, Rangers collapse was kind of the narrative after the Christmas break was a Rangers collapse, but that never really happened this year. Rangers haven't really collapsed in the same way they did in previous seasons. The rivals have always been within touching distance of us. Yes, they had a few poor results right after the break, but they've recovered it and they've won a good number of games themselves in a row. Celtic have had to put together this sort of run. This has nothing to do with the fact that, something's happened across the city and Celtic have just been able to just run away with it. The fact of the matter is, this title race is still on for now, getting towards the point where it's going to be drawing to a conclusion, but it's not quite over yet. And, that is down to the fact that our rivals have been keeping pace. So, Celtic have had to be, near on flawless, which they have since then about game
Well, exactly.
6 or 7. And I don't buy into anyone turning around and saying, oh, Celtic have been lucky and fortunate because of circumstances happening elsewhere, or because, games got moved because they had to postpone matches at Christmas because of COVID and things like that. It's just the biggest clutching at straws I think I've ever seen from a fan base, to be honest. Anyone coming out with absolute nonsense like that.
Nonsense.
Nonsense, as Roy Keane would say. Absolute nonsense. Nonsense, Russell.
The new Hibs manager.
That's the next Hibs manager.
I'm getting a season ticket, mate. I'm telling you, I can't go to games on a Saturday for Celtic, but I'll just Sky work every Saturday for Keane's at Hibs. Now we're looking.
That's it. We'll be doing a Hibs show as well. The bus will be getting a remodel, and we'll be doing the Hibsy bus, the Higgies bus on a Sunday.
But Jonathan, I think you raised some interesting points there. I think there's always going to be, from both sides of the divide, right? I think you always try a wee bit to massage your own upset, to massage your own ego, to not really quite accept the failure your team's in. You always look for certain reasons to find an excuse, shall we say. And I genuinely think people suggesting that this is the worst team to ever win a league, or Rangers have handed them gift wrapped them the title. This is utter bullshit. This is all came from Celtic going on a run that in any league season tends to be the league winners when they go 28 league games, 24 wins, 4 draws at any stage in a season. That tends to be the team that wins the league. All right? It's that simple.
Yeah.
Right? It's got fuck all to do with winter breaks, being moved, no fans. I mean, that's the only team in the world that didn't want any fans. I mean, anyway, I don't even get drawn into their point of view on it. But I think the media, at times, Jonathan, even in the past week, and I openly admit I listen to your Clyde one a lot, I listen to the Sports Sound when I can, when it's not just complete EBT Central. Neil McCann does my absolute boxing. But genuinely, you were like, you think Celtic had completely shot the bed last weekend, where realistically it was 2 teams I thought that were below par, under par.
Yeah.
And it was one of them got the job done with 3 minutes of extra time to go. The other team is on a 28-game unbeaten league run. And yet we were the ones that were meant to be under pressure this weekend. Very strange how it gets twisted like that. And I suppose they've got to fill columns and they've got to keep listeners on the radio and stuff. But realistically, when you cut all the bullshit, Jonathan, right? Cut all the bullshit. Celtic's side under Ange Postecoglou from round 7 of this league campaign onwards has been the best team in the country by a fucking country mile. I'm not giving a fuck who they've got in charge. It makes no odds. That Celtic side has been a juggernaut towards this league title. They're only going to get better, by the way. And I think the credit has to be given to not just Postecoglou, but of course the players. But far from finding reasons why this has all been, what's the other one that they're doing as well? Celtic have apparently spent about £1 zillion last summer, Jonathan, as well, which is just utter garbage.
It seems to go up by 5 million every week. It's very bizarre.
I watched Ryan 118 today. What a legend that young lad is, in my opinion. By the way, he's got a pair of bollocks. I like that. Not that like I'm into people's bollocks, but you know what I mean. I like his demeanor. He's got, he's confident. And genuinely, he was like, this conversation about money. When was that happening at the start of the season? When was anyone saying, Celtic have spent a lot this summer? I don't remember that conversation, Jonathan. And as you just rightfully said, it seems to go up 5 million every time Celtic get that step closer to the league championship. Celtic's lost, just to be clear, an £18 million striker and a £13 million defender. And a guy with 4 months left in his deal for £2-3 million, which if he had a year left in his, it would have been 6 or 7, I would imagine. Right? You put all that, right? So what do we make? We brought in, 24, 25 million? Our biggest buy this summer was a £4.5 million Kyogo. £4.5 million our biggest outlay on one player. This has not been reckless spending by Ange Postecoglou's money team. It's far from it. And it's the latest in a long line of excuses where reality bites Jonathan. 24 wins in the last 28 games, 4 draws. Take it away, Jonathon Boyce.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, it's an outstanding run of results. It really is. And, to touch back on the point about the media, I think they did go completely overboard on the cup game the week before, because if there was anyone that was in a do or die situation in that Scottish Cup semi-final domestically, it certainly was not Celtic Football Club, because Celtic hold all the aces when it comes to the league title race. Not Rangers. Celtic are the ill in their own hands, and Celtic would only have themselves to blame if they don't go on to clinch the title. They have nobody else to look at on that front. But when you're looking at the whole dimension of the media and everything they've came out with over the last week, I mean, I think you had Hugh Keevans writing an article saying this is going to be Helicopter Sunday 2.0 in the middle of the week, and you're just like, oh, come on, Hugh. Yeah, he said he had an article out saying this could end up being Celtic's Helicopter Sunday 2.0, as if it's like a house of cards, to use Dave King's analogy, and we're all just going to collapse because we lost a game in extra time that had absolutely no bearing whatsoever on the league title. And it was absolutely crazy, some of the things these people have come out with. It's almost as if, the last 6 months didn't happen just because we lost a game of football in extra time, which, as I said on Friday, if that game had been a league game and we'd played that poorly, we'd have still got a 1-1 draw, and we'd have taken that every day of the week. If we were to play as poorly on Sunday and we drew 1 each, we'd be like, fine, it's another game closer to the title. Sound. Mark it off. Not that I think that'll happen. I'm pretty confident you will see a completely different beast from Celtic on Sunday. I know we're going to talk about that in a bit more detail later on.
Of course.
But, when it comes to the form that Celtic have been on, it's actually rather astonishing how much people are just wanting to almost rewrite history off the back of one defeat. Granted, a disappointing day at the office, but, it was a Scottish Cup semi-final. Cup games can go either way. Both teams weren't at their best. You can make excuses for both if you want. Bottom line was Rangers just did a little bit more to win that game. But in terms of the league table doesn't lie either. Celtic have been the better team in the league up until this point. Whether people like it, don't like it, want to make excuses for it, want to do their own wee thing, want to go and cry to the SFA over fixtures being moved and things like that, that's up to them. But, the issue with it is, quite frankly, Celtic have just been on a one-way street towards the championship, and they have been since they lost to Livingston, and that is really the bottom line.
I think you're absolutely spot on now. I mean, apparently, rumour reaches me, Jonathan, that, the Statement O'Clock podcast, I think there's been another statement today, fucking hell. But they're now referring to another Statement O'Clock from the team who are now calling it an Ange Bolt, which isn't going to catch on. You're as well just accepting your fate. We're on the Ange bus.
Capsized already, and it's barely even set sail. Unbelievable.
I don't know what they're trying to flag down these days, the Titanic, but yeah, let's be honest. It is the Ange bus that we're all on, Jonathan. Of that, there can be no dispute, no debate. And Ange Postecoglou is basically, with this team, Jonathan, focused, homed in on sorting the league form. We went 6 games, 3 wins, 3 defeats. It was fucking looking pretty desperate. That run that I've repeated several times on this show, it's very important that I do, because there's 140 people watching live right now. And wherever you are, if you are watching live, it'll take you less than a second to hit the like button. And you watch this bus get busier and busier. It's crazy. When everyone hits like, the numbers just rocket up there. It's just jumped to 145 like that because someone said the like button. So if you can, do me a favour, it'd be hitting the like button. I appreciate it very, very much. Now, the thing is, with Postecoglou, he's got a history of winning league titles. We know this. We've debated it we've managed to. I looked at the other side to Jonathon at the beginning of the season. I don't give a shit. See, the thing is with opinion, right, in football, it's very important because right now I'm doing a podcast on a Boyce'S channel that is getting more and more people sort of involved via the Double Down show, and then the team's sort of growing, and certain guys like Phil McGinley's now been on 7 times, you know what I mean, which is mental. When I look back, I'm like, someone else has been on the Boyce'S 7 times. I know you've been on it more than that, but you've got a regular weekly slot. It's just quality. But the thing is with it, not every time you make an opinion, you have to be proven right. That's the key. What is important about opinion, Jonathon, is context and evidence to support why you're giving a certain view. That's what matters. I cannot be bothered with just throwaway one-liners, that don't actually make sense. Now, I did give Ange's record a bit of critique, a bit of scrutiny, Jonathon. Again, not being all smart arse about it. I generally kind of felt I backed it up well enough at the time to say there's a sustainable argument there to question, what his trophy laden, as it were, career was. And I was looking at that wee Dan Orlowich guy going, I'm not quite convinced by him anyway. I'm not quite convinced he even knows how football fucking works. That's the guy that told us Ange wanted to come this season and draw 4-4 instead of win 1-0. That was his words, not mine. So what we've learned with Ange is when it came to actually homing in on the big prize, the glittering prize, as Simple Minds would call it, he knew exactly what he was doing this season. He's got a team there, Jonathon, absolutely focused. Now, we spoke about, remember the old soccer AM term, Jonathon? Bounce back ability, right? I think this Celtic side in spades has that. What is your thoughts? Because, last week, let's not get away from it. It was a fucking disappointment, Jonathon. I was gutted. Of course I was. Particularly maybe because, as much as I've spun it there and saying, well, it was 3 minutes left of extra time, it could happen to anyone. I was gutted because I never felt we were the team I've been watching the last 6 months, if I'm honest, right? That was a frustrating bit. But wow. When Celtic have adversity, Jonathon, this group of players seem to just be able to go, not stone cold Steve Austin, but ice cold. And they put ice in their veins, mate. And they seem to know how to just bounce back with a lot of ability. Bounce back ability FC this season, mate, because it was a wonderful response to what was a disappointing week.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that is something that is so important, particularly in title races. You need to be able to have characters in your dressing room. You need to have that mentality that you're able to turn around and take the defeat and move on and quickly be able to recover fast from dropping points. And we've seen across the city, it's easy to get caught in a wee bit of a rut and then drop points in a couple of games in a row. And all of a sudden, before you know it, you're way out the title race and you're struggling to keep up. And we've seen that happen with ourselves the season before this one, that we just couldn't get out the blocks at all for various reasons. And this team, they're just so good at bouncing back from a disappointing result like the one they had on Sunday. I always look at it and think, what is going on with the Celtic team and how they're able to just completely block out such a poor performance and just move straight on to the next one as if it never happened. And, if you didn't watch the game on Sunday at Hampden, you'd have thought, wow, Celtic have just been cruising the whole season. And that didn't happen, because if we're looking even just at that Ross County game, granted it was 2-0, it should have been far, far more. I mean, in that first half, it should have been about 3 or 4 on by itself comfortably. I think if you have a fully fit and firing Kyogo, he probably gets a hat-trick in that first half. So I think there's so much positives to be taken from that. And it's, in some ways, it's a bit of a shame that Celtic didn't get the extra goals that their performance merited, particularly in the first half, so that they could really have made that statement in terms of going, you know what, well, yes, we might have lost the week before, but don't let anyone fool you. This championship is still very much ours for the taking. And, when you look at somebody like little Kyogo, and you've got to be...
Kyogo.
You've got to be impressed with him. It's an interesting one though, Russell, with Kyogo, because he doesn't look quite fully fit to me quite yet. He took his goal very well, but he did miss another few opportunities in there. Is Kyogo fully fit and ready now to be thrown in from the start, do you feel, most weeks?
Jonathan, look, Kyogo, I don't give a fuck, mate. It's all about debate. It's all about you're allowed to have different opinions than people without the other one being an idiot if they don't agree with you, right? And I think people get a wee bit smarty with stuff like that. Smart arse saying, I don't like that, particularly within our own support. But let me tell you this. Kyogo is the player of the year for Celtic, in my humble opinion. Not everyone else's opinion. I'm going to give you reasons why he is. And 11 minutes into a crucial game at Dingwall, the banana skin game, the game that sets the tone for the post-split fixtures, Jonathan, the one that leaves it now on the brink. And 11 minutes into his first start in 4 months, he does what he does. He scores, he steps up. And yeah, you're right, there was a bit of a ring rust, you could call.
We are going all in with the wrestling analogies, and they were no back end doing more Dublin doing on these wrestling analogies.
I'll probably get, probably people are thinking of different type of analogy for saying ring rust. But anyway, Jonathan, I think Kyogo, for me, is someone that the bigger the occasion or the more we need it, the more he steps up. Kyogo is now rejoining a Celtic bus that has been speeding at 100 miles an hour towards the title finishing line, by the way. But see, when he was the biggest conductor on that bus, Jonathan, the first half of the season, it was going at 30 miles an hour. I had the odd puncture. Kyogo was the guy. He was the guy we hung our hat on to do it. And see at Ross County, we needed that early goal, Jonathan. We've seen, even at 1-0, nervy moments in that second half that were unnecessary. Without Kyogo, particularly if Gigi's not fully fit to start, then I'm sorry. But that at 0-0 becomes all sorts of a nervy, torrid, nail-biting affair. But Kyogo has always stepped up. And it doesn't matter if he's half fit, fully fit, 70% fit. It doesn't matter to Kyogo, Jonathan. He knows where the back of the net is. He knows big moments, Jonathan. He's a big moment player. That's what I love about him. It's not just what you'll bring. And by the way, see once he's fully fit and firing, he is a nightmare that they've got to deal with again next Sunday. And we'll talk about who starts next Sunday. But let me assure you right now, in the first half of this season, it was him who was our shining light. In the second half of this season, he started it, Jonathan. He started this title push. He'll sign it off. He'll finish it. He'll end it. He'll bookmark it at both sides. And do you know what the thing is with Kyogo as well? Kyogo smiled to me, Jonathan. I watched. There was a moment where the camera sort of zoomed in on Kyogo, right? And all the fans are saying, we've got a bad eyes on the wing. We've got Kyogo doing his thing. And Kyogo's kind of got the head down. He's looking up and he's trying not to bust out into that big, beautiful smile he's got. And I think this epitomises what this season's been, Jonathan. It's been glorious, exciting, attractive football from a position of desperation. We've had all the emotions, all the roller coaster emotions you expect as a Celtic fan. And Kyogo's smile, I think, will be something that epitomises the 21-22 season, mate.
Yeah, no, I could totally get behind that. Without Kyogo in the first half of the season, then Celtic are not going to be in the position they are. That's just a stone cold fact. If you ask me, I don't think anyone that can really dispute that is that Kyogo had to drag Celtic through a number of games in that first half of the season. And, I remember even when he got injured after the League Cup final, we were all kind of shitting ourselves thinking this could be the end of our title challenge. And if it hadn't been for Chaos, Giacomakis, and others stepping up, we could have been in. And that's a brilliant.
Look at that! Look at that! That is predicting what you were going to say there, Jonathan. Because I know you don't have access to the rest of the comments. You can only see the ones that come up on the screen. And Conor McCann 2 minutes ago basically is just, the two years are in complete agreement on that point. How reliable were we on Kyogo in the first half of the season? And does recency bias, and I talk about this, Jonathan, all the time, recency bias completely plays tricks in your own wee brain. I am telling you, that first half of the season at times, Kyogo was the difference between Celtic being an awfully long way behind Rangers and 2 defeats of Rangers behind.
Yeah, it's just such an important thing to his role in that first half of the season cannot be understated. Without Kyogo there, Celtic are just not in the position they are. They've probably lost the league by now, if truth be completely told. So you cannot underestimate what Kyogo brought to the table in that first half.
Exactly.
Of the season. I think fair enough. Over the last few months, we've got away without having him, and we've churned out result after result without him there, because, as I say, other players have stepped up, particularly Chaos Giacomakis getting himself fit and now firing for us has made a huge difference too. So it's like, we were a bit fortunate in that sense, but with Kyogo now being back fully fit, you're looking at it and you're thinking, oh wow, Ange now has a decision to make with his front three that he's not had before. And it is a question now that we're going to find out the answer to, I would say as early as Sunday, as to what he actually wants to do with Kyogo. Because does Kyogo go on up front? Or does Kyogo end up going out wide? Or does Kyogo end up going onto the bench? That's just something we don't know the answer to. But I think we're about to get an indication on Sunday as to what Ange Postecoglou thinks his best starting 11 is when he has them all fully fit. And what an arsenal of opportunities he's going to have up front. I would not want to be the Rangers' defence come Sunday.
No.
Obviously, when you're looking at performances as well, we've also got Jota that we haven't really talked about in as much detail, but here he is now on the screen.
Now.
And
you don't need to say every word like that Kyogo voice, by the way. Detail.
Jota. I was going to join that, but I think when it comes to Jota, he was excellent on Sunday. Definitely for me the best attacking player. Kyogo Bhoycie took his goal well. Did have a little bit of rust and missed a few other chances, as we've discussed. Whereas I think Jota really proved just how good a player he actually is. I think some of us have been a wee bit quick to be critical of Jota in the past. I think he was a wee bit of the whipping boy. I was probably guilty of it myself last Sunday, when, quite frankly, so many of the players didn't perform. And I think it's easy to draw conclusions on somebody like Jota just because, he's not actually been signed up. He might be playing his football elsewhere next season. But, for me, Jota will be a very interesting one as to whether or not he starts come Sunday, because you're looking at him and thinking he's just played his way almost into the first team with that performance. It's very hard to then turn around and drop him off the back of what he's done at Ross County. And I think with Jota as well, he just looked so happy and so much more relaxed and enjoying his football on Sunday. You kind of got that feeling with him. He might well just decide to hang around, Russell. That's the vibe I was getting from on Sunday. What do you think?
Well, I think it's very interesting with Jota again. I think he was overly scrutinised for. I don't think his form fell off a cliff that was suggested. I think he maybe didn't have the best of games at Hampden. I don't think he was one of our worst performers at Ibrox. And I also think as well, it can be very dangerous to create narratives that don't exist about players' psyche and mindset when you don't know what you're talking about. You don't actually know. There's been no give or take. Now, what happens, Jonathan, is, and we were talking about this with Cameron Carter-Vickers, a player signs on a first option to buy deal. Do you know when that first option triggers?
Well, ends it trigger.
At the end of the season. Why would either the club or the players ever be making that call earlier unless it's just been this marriage made in heaven. If you're the player, of course you're going to see how a full season transpires in a foreign country, particularly when it's Scotland that you've went to. It's a bit of a gamble on paper. I know Celtic's a big selling point. Of course we're a world-renowned football club, whether people like to accept that or not. But what you would have to say is, of course, coming from Portugal to the Scottish climate, way of life, it might have been a bit of a gamble. There's nothing wrong with what you're laughing at. What are you laughing at?
Nothing. I was just laughing at the thought of Jota in Scotland. I'm just thinking of Jota in Scotland when he said came over from Portugal. I'm just thinking how much of a climate change that must have been for him as well. As we were talking, I was just thinking he must have had to adapt quite a bit. And that was just making me chuckle.
Fair enough. But what I'm trying to say is, though, these guys need the full 12 months. They were signed on the basis of they've got a full season to work this out. It's not about we want them to all say commit their future to Celtic way before the actual deal was agreed to be done, if it were to be done anyway. I think we all maybe just need to calm down. And I think what we also need to take in consideration here, George, this is a huge, huge factor. And I always remember, I think this was a massive reason in Henrik staying, right? And we like to go down the rabbit hole in the old Bhoycie bus every now and then. So hear me out. Henrik Larsson, I think Celtic changed for him when Martin O'Neill took over, right? Henrik Larsson went from the odd trophy, which our Rangers supporting pals can relate to these days. They went from the odd trophy to complete dominance under Martin O'Neill. And I think the day you lift that title, right, around 60,000 fans under the sun with, was it Roll With It back in the day, whatever the song may be this time, whether it's Jota's own song that they all like to sing. I think when you're walking around that pitch and there's confetti everywhere, you've got the league winners medal, fucking ask him then. Stop trying to preempt it. Stop trying to think he's fucking checked out and making up bollocks that you don't even know, really. Look, the deal was, it's the end of season. We've got the option to buy. It's about whether Kyogo, Jota, can be convinced. Jota could be convinced, Jonathan, just by that alone. Wearing a Smell the Glove t-shirt, mate, with a league winners medal, those photos, like the actual occasion. He'll never have experienced that in his career. Never. We've still got a huge ace in our pack, Jonathan, to play to Jota to ensure that he signs. Let's not get ahead of ourselves that he must have checked it. He wants to go. I'm not as convinced it's as straightforward as that. For me, we need to be open about this and we need to say, look, both parties entered an agreement, Jonathan, last summer. End of the season, there's an option to buy. Jota has signed for Celtic on that premise as well. People forget that. He's signed saying, yeah, they've got first option to sign. Otherwise, he doesn't join us, right?
Yeah.
So, like, for people to think this is completely alien, that he would maybe want to stay at Celtic as well, I don't think are paying attention enough, because he doesn't join a club with an option to buy, if that was the case. What I do think, Jonathan, is Celtic's a special, special football club. And when they get together and they celebrate league titles, it can become a bit addictive. Ask Henrik Larsson. Henrik Larsson was coveted by, let's be completely honest, 10 times better the clubs that Jota will be coveted by this summer if he were to have his head turned at all. And Henrik Larsson found that buzz of walking around Celtic Park, Jonathan, as I say, with 60,000 singing your name, singing Roll With It, stuff like that, just that bit too addictive to leave. I don't think we should be writing off Jota or suggesting that he's made his mind up and he's checked out quite yet, whilst there could still be the biggest part of his life as a footballer to happen. And I think that will have a huge, huge say.
Yeah, no, I'd completely agree. I think when it comes to Jota, he's going to keep his cards close to his chest until the end of the season, but we don't need to rush that whatsoever. We've got the time to work with on Jota, and when we do eventually, and if we do eventually get ourselves over this line, which I'm convinced we will, then, I think at that point, it will be the time to start having that conversation with Jota and finding out exactly where he stands. And, You know, somebody like Jota, I think, could be very easily convinced at the thought of starting to win trophies. It is an addictive trait. It is what you're going to look back on, you know, when you do decide to eventually call it a day. No one's going to be looking at it and thinking, oh, well, I played for Aston Villa and I finished 12th and it was just terrific. One of the best seasons of my career. What do you get for that? Nothing. Diddly squat.
Nothing.
So it's not creating memories. It's creating a paycheck. And you know, there's so many examples. That's a great point Jay Lee's brought up about Patrick Roberts. And there's so many more just like him. You know, you ask guys like him, you could ask guys like Gary Hooper, who went down south thinking it might be a little bit better. Even more recently, ask a guy like Ryan Christie. Is he really enjoying it that much playing with Bournemouth? You know, it's like there's the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And you know, when it looks like you can make a bit more money, which granted maybe Jota will get offers where he can make a bit more coin. It's just a case of, is that really going to be what's best for him at this point in his career? Is he wanting to create memories and have those moments that he can look back on when he's retired and, you know, be invited back to Celtic Park in years gone by? Or does he kind of just want to you know, go down a route of making as much money as he can? And nobody knows the answer to that, of course. We're going to find out in the next few weeks either way what's going to happen with him. Certainly, though, I think he is enjoying his football. I think there's a very good possibility he stays. And for Celtic, like Carter Vickers, for me, it's a no-brainer that you try and keep him.
Let's look at it another way, Jonathan. Now, I think Jay Lee, who came in earlier, and brilliant to have you back on the bus, mate. He's a legend, by the way. He's a top lad on the old Twitter. I think it's an interesting comparison, the Paddy Roberts one. I generally think there is similarities. I think both of them, I think people forget, Paddy Roberts' reputation when he came to Celtic was massive, Jonathan. He had an exclusive sponsorship that people forget with Adidas, which only certain young players get. Do you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't just like sending him the odd pair of boots. He was getting featured in like adverts and stuff for them all over the internet. Like, well, the internet, I sound like I'm about 100 years old. But like, you know what I mean? A lot of their like marketing and stuff, they were using Paddy Roberts for it. Paddy Roberts was kind of the A side, and Tierney was a bit like in awe of him a wee bit, if you remember.
Yeah.
Paddy Roberts and Jota, there is a good comparison there. And I would love that to be, if Jota was in doubt and thought, is Celtic really where I see myself? Is that going to, say he got a bit individualistic about it, Jonathan, as a lot of players do now. They play for their careers as opposed to they play for clubs. So let's focus on your career then, Jota. Do you want to be at Sunderland in League One in 5 years? I'm not saying it would necessarily be the exact same, but that's it, easy. For me, Patrick Roberts didn't sign for Celtic permanently because he thought it was going to be better. It's ended up being a disaster. With Jota, imagine if he turns down Celtic and finds out that he's been loaned out again by Benfica to a Getafe, to Troyes in France, or wherever it may be. You know, to who was the other one? Middlesbrough, things like that. Really? Yeah. Or if we win this league, which is looking likely, you find yourself playing a key role, not just a role, a key role in that first team squad in the most iconic tournament in club football, the Champions League. That's where you can get to if you sign for Celtic. Celtic won't stand in your way if 15, 20 million pounds come in. We're not, trust me, look at our history. If anything, we're too quick to sell players. So, in my opinion, there's a lot of selling that we can do for Jota. And I would hate for his career to go down the path that we Roberts did, because without going too far down the Paddy Roberts thing is, I really did like him. I think when you watch some of the highlights, as I always say on the show, George, the Lil Z on Twitter, midnight every night, he posts you on this day highlights from Celtic games. And some of the Patrick Roberts stuff that was happening, honestly, what a footballer. Yeah, and actually, if you told me after Rodgers' first season that in 5 years, 6 years' time, he would be where he is now, I would tell you to fuck off, really, to be honest, and say, no way, he's well better than that. But there's one more debate we're going to have, Jonathan, about this first team. I got into a few bickers, shall we call it, on Twitter today. People have been very dismissive, Jonathan. Now, the tweet that was put out was, quote this tweet with your most unpopular Celtic opinion, right? The clue's in that tweet, right? And I said, I think Ralston's better than Juranovic, knowing it would be an unpopular opinion. However, Jonathan, whilst I accept it to be an unpopular opinion, that's because I've got a hell of a lot of respect for Josip Juranovic and what he brings to the team. But people arguing that point seemed really just very much on the side of, you're a fucking idiot. You don't go to games. You're a clown. You're taking the piss. Should be a meme. It's not really adding much to the argument. It's hardly forming an argument, Derek, is it? As Chris Sutton on Spineless has said on the radio. I genuinely prefer Ralston in the team than Juranovic. I know it's an unpopular opinion. It's no diss to Juranovic, Jonathan. As I've highlighted on the show many a time, O'Reilly, Rogic, like for like. Ralston, Juranovic, whilst maybe not like for like in terms of how they play, I think it's a match in quality for quality. You then look at the numbers, and I would say 7 SPFL goals. 7 SPFL assists, 4 goals from open play for Tony Ralston. 1 SPFL assist, 0 goals from open play for Juranovic. There is a debate to be had as to who's better here. And can we just keep it healthy here, by the way? This is brilliant. Celtic are in a position we're debating a Croatian international with a guy with 7 SPFL assists. It's a fantastic conversation, and it shouldn't be getting looked at negatively.
No, absolutely not. I think Juranovic might have one, because he takes the penalties, doesn't he? He scored a penalty against St Johnstone.
No goals from open play.
Oh, from open play, yeah, sorry.
No, I did say that.
Yeah.
He's got three penalties.
Yeah, 3 penalties. I was going to say he scored a few penalties this season. But yeah, I mean, looking at the debate on it, then I think they both bring different qualities to the team. Yep. And I think when you look at, even the Ross County game on Sunday, I think that was tailor-made for Ralston, and Ralston loved every second of that. There was a few tasty tackles that he was making. He just doesn't get ruffled up.
Well, let's just quickly come in there as well. In the first 5 minutes, Ralston put a ball that the goalkeeper was flapping at, that I am sorry is just a top drawer final ball. His cross was absolutely standing. That's a guy who could again be ring rusty. I know chunks in my trunks likes all this sort of patter. But I think that, he could have easily have been forgiven for an opening 5 minutes. His first time ball, cross going right from the byline, goes a wee bit ski whiff. Instead, had the goalkeeper scrambling, actually trying to palm it away. I think his end product quality has skyrocketed, whilst all the other attributes in terms of more dug, more fight, more biting, blood and thunder and all that shit, that comes as standard with Tony Ralston. But his end product now, Jonathan, he's right in there in this debate.
Yeah, no, definitely. He's proven what he can do in the final third this season. And, you don't have to look too far back. Remember, Brendan Rodgers was the one who gave him his first chance. And he did use him in the Champions League as well. So if Rodgers has seen something in the player, then there was clearly something there. Brendan Rodgers very rarely misses when it comes to developing talent. So there was obviously something that Rodgers felt he could work on at the time. Fair enough. I think it's taken Ralston a little bit longer to find his feet, and probably perhaps the loans helped him in some ways as to realising that he was kind of in sink or swim time this season when Ange Postecoglou came in and threw him in. Mainly, I think at the start of the season, he didn't have a lot of other options at right back. But my goodness, he's taken his chances well. He knew he was in the last chance saloon, Tony Ralston, and he's played this season as if he's been playing right back for Celtic for a number of years and comfortably so. I think when it comes to Juranovic, there's certainly, for me, that he offers a little bit more sense, I think, with defensive position, and I think he's a little bit more tactically sound.
He didn't Ibrox, though, did he?
No, I did have the one blip at Ibrox. There's no two ways about it. There's no getting around that. But I think in general,
does Tony Ralston get pelters for that, Jonathan?
No, well, yeah.
If that's Ralston at Ibrox, mate, fucking pelters. David Kelly comes in. Do you rate Boy better than last night? David, I love your points 99 times out of 100. That is just gutter pish, mate. Come on. No, I don't rate Boy better than Larson, right? And as I brought up this debate, I get healthy competition between Juranovic and Ralston. And I am the one who's been often reminded this season that stats, you need to pay attention to stats. Well, Ralston's numbers add up better than Juranovic and are more than worthwhile bringing into the debate as a whole. As a whole. It's not just about he's better because of these assists and goals that he's ahead of him in. It's not just because of that. But are they factors in saying, yes, Kingdom of Boy, I prefer him in the team? Yes. Is Chris Boyd better than Henrik Larsson? Come on, David. As Chris Sutton would say, Jonathan.
You're better than that.
Come on. Right. Anyway, it's an interesting debate. But what I always want is this being a healthy debate, Jonathan. And if people don't, he said I've cited that as the measure of a player. Never did I say it was a measure of a player. I said these are the numbers. This is why, or one of the factors why, it works. It looks favourable on Ralston. It's not the measure of a player. It's not the only measurement of a player. Far from it. And I'd certainly
on that, James Tavernier would be the best right back in the world. Number of goals he scores.
Do you know what I mean? no one's going that far. What we're trying to do is have healthy debate for what I think is a position that should be replicated, Jonathan. And this is hopefully we'll get David to come back in and see if he agrees with this, because he might. Left back, Greg Taylor, I think, could go on next season to have his best season in a Celtic shirt. Do you know how I would do that? By signing a Juranovic-esque player at left back. Someone of a similar profile. Someone of the same sort of quality, reputation, ability. Someone that is going to make Greg Taylor know his jersey's on a sugary peg, you know? That can bring out the best in people sometimes. And I think Greg Taylor's got maybe a similar mindset to Ralston where he'd be up for that battle. That's what I would be targeting that position, that left back, Jonathan. I think the model we've seen at right back with an unfancied Tony Ralston being massively improved this season by firstly the manager and also the addition of Juranovic, destroying Juranovic's numbers, not to make him a better player, but not that caps for Croatia necessarily make you a better player than Tony Ralston either, by the way, because that's just numbers. I think Taylor could see it, that sort of level of being pushed. Do you know what I mean, Jonathan? I think that could take his game onwards and upwards. I think as well, the other one I would always say, O'Reilly and Rogic. Undoubtedly, mate, that works. Now, don't get me wrong, they are the definition of like for like when it comes to a substitution. But don't think that them pushing each other doesn't actually improve performances. I definitely think they will.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And I think when it comes to Taylor, I think he's actually beginning to improve already this season. I think we've seen Taylor come on a lot over the past number of months. So I think, if you were to go ahead, and it is a position that he's strengthened, of course, because you're looking at left back and it's still with Liam Scales, is your only real cover in that position. And let's face it, Liam Scales is probably not going to be a long-term solution for me from what I've seen of him. That I'm convinced he's gonna make it at Celtic. Maybe he'll prove me wrong, but at this stage, it's hard to see him forcing his way into the first team on a regular basis. So I think, if they were to sign a left back there, then it would push Taylor on a bit. I think it's one of the positions that needs a bit more healthy competition, because you could go through the full team almost, apart from left back and goalkeeper. I think you could probably go through the rest of the team, and you've got people fighting all over the pitch for places in the first team, and you need that in a squad, particularly if this squad is going to be playing in the Champions League next season. Then you do need to have players that you can rely on, and I think it's such a brilliant situation to actually find yourself in a position where you can turn around and make the case. And whilst Ralston and Juranovic certainly can become a bit more of a heated debate for some, I think it's a brilliant debate that we're even getting to have in the first place, because it shows
awesome
that both of them have their pro points, and I think you can make an argument for either of them, and there'll be so many people that will be Team Ralston, like yourself, and then there'll be plenty of other people that will be Team Juranovic, and there's not a right or wrong answer to that question, because I think, if, let's say on Sunday, Juranovic was to get the nod, I think people can understand that would want Ralston to play. I think people can get behind that decision. And likewise, I think if Ralston was to get the spot ahead of Juranovic, then again, I don't see too many Celtic fans turning around and saying, "Oh, why are you playing Ralston?" I think people would be absolutely fine with that as well. So I think it's such a healthy option for Ange Postecoglou to have. I love the fact that you get to have this debate, and it's quite nice that you see people getting as fired up for the one that they want to play at right back. But equally, it's so good because you know that even if it's not the one you fancy, the other one is still more than capable of doing a job.
Jonathan, I just think you've just nailed it exactly how my mind is working on this. It's a healthy debate. It's not a slight at one or the other. It should never be that. And I think people do get the hump a wee bit, you know. I don't mean David, by the way. I think David's obviously Team Juranovic. That's fine, right? But I also think, see, on Twitter today, I was actually baffled at some of the arguments being leveled with. I don't go to games very often. I've worked Saturdays for over a decade, Jonathan. But see, Freddie, whoever the fuck you are, mate, in Alloa, who's messaging me on Twitter, if Celtic played at 9 a.m. on a Monday morning, how many games would you be at, son? That's all I'm saying. How many games would you be at? Well, that's part of my 9 till 5 is working Saturdays, mate. If you think that doesn't mean I'm afforded or allowed to be afforded an opinion on Celtic fullbacks, you're sorely mistaken. I think the competition that Jonathan you're referring to and the way you've just described it there is healthy. And I want these heated debates, by the way, with the boss to continue. We're here to stimulate debate. We're here to get people having different opinions, but being able to back them up. And I actually hope that if Ange Postecoglou is able to complete the jigsaw puzzle that he wants to, Jonathan, this summer, then that will mean, forget this debate. This will be mild compared to what we'll be seeing for up front. We're going to have the golden boy Kyogo. We're going to be debating whether he's better or should be starting ahead of Chaos Giakoumakis, who could potentially finish still Celtic's top scorer by the end of the season. And I think if Ange gets his way this summer, I think another striker will be brought in. That's just my hunch. And then you're going, right, that is one hell of a debate between, that's what we want. It's completely what we want. I don't want this to become timid. I think the competition for the Celtic, for a place in Celtic's first team, this is exactly what Ange wants. Ange will be watching me and you debating with David Kelly and the rest, of course, and going, I know my squad's now taking shape when you're seeing that sort of level of debate. And yeah, Tahalo, as I say, absolutely need the same competition at left back. And I really do hope that happens. Now, Jonathan, right before we go, we'll do one more final talking point. I know we've ran way over, but this is what the Bhoycie Bus does. Win next Sunday. We have won the league. It's simple as that, right? I mean, they can call it mathematically. Not done yet, but I do think they will. How do we give ourselves the best chance of doing so? And this now leads us back. We reflect, Jonathan, on the talking points we've raised earlier today. Jota seems to be back on form. Kyogo's back in the goals, back in the team. Chaos is back to full fitness. Abada's a double-figure assist maker, goal scorer. James Forrest was Ange's go-to sub, believe it or not, only a week ago. I think these are the positions, the wingers, Jonathan, and the up front, that'll be the hardest ones for Ange to come up with the perfect solution for. But I think it's the most important for Sunday, Jonathan. How would you line up to tackle Rangers on Sunday? Because let's be honest, history awaits. The script is written if we want to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a big game for us, on Sunday. It's such a big opportunity, not just to clinch the league title, but obviously to right a few wrongs from that performance from the week before. Not that I'll be going through the players' minds. I think Ange will have them fully focused on the game ahead and not thinking about anything else. But if you're asking me what you do in terms of giving yourself the best chance of winning, and particularly if you're looking at that front three, it's time to do something that Postecoglou has yet to do, and that is to go with Maeda.
All right.
To go with Kyogo. And then you put Chaos through the middle in what would be a three-pronged attack that Rangers will not be able to handle, in my opinion. And then in behind them, I don't even know whether you go with Rogic or O'Reilly at this point, because I think they're both very similar players. I think Rogic looked pretty good in his cameo in Dingwall. He was strutting about some nice passes in his slippers. He was reminding Ange he's still there. And I'd probably just about give it to Tom, just because he's a bit of a maverick, and I quite like a maverick in that sort of position. And you're looking at the attacking options. That is what I would go with. I want to see Kyogo and Giakoumakis in the same starting 11, because I think that spells danger all round. Danger Maida, you could say, all round for the Rangers defence if you go with those front three. And that is actually what I think Ange Postecoglou might well do, to pull a wee rabbit out of the hat and a wee surprise there, because there are so many options. And it's a difficult one though, Russell, because he's also then going to have to leave out the man who was instrumental in winning at Ross County, and Diego Jota.
A goal and an assist, you know?
I know, but it's one of those ones. I think the ends justify the means. If we're playing this fixture the way I think we should.
Clever. That's a good way of putting it, you little bastard.
Then I think it to be Maida causing chaos to Tavernier, and then you've got Giakoumakis through the middle with Kyogo running down one side. It's pretty much what he wanted to do, I think, at Ibrox if he had the right players the first time around. And I think this time around it's going to be a totally different story. And I think if he did go with those three up front, Celtic will win. And Celtic will win comfortably.
Jonathan, very interesting. Very, very interesting. So you want to go back to the front three that I've said. I think if Ange will always give you these diplomatic answers, Jonathan, and he'll always say it's a squad game, mate. No, sorry, I need to stop doing that accent. It's a squad game, mate, and all this shit, and I don't have a first 11. But if you were to push Ange, and you said, look, mate, you need to tell me your first 11, you know, let's make up some sort of dramatic scenario there. He had to tell you, you know. I think genuinely his game plan, his template would be Maida, Kyogo, with Giakoumakis up top. I've said it numerous times. Jota, though, goal and assist last week cannot be ignored. However, what also can't be ignored is Jota's poor display against Rangers the week before, which probably led to all this. Oh, I think he's checked out and I think he wants to leave sort of patter. Alfred wants to know, by the way, if your quiff's getting smaller.
Just receding, Alfred. That happens to the best of us.
But I think to get maximum effect, I would love to see Celtic not just spring the surprise you suggest, Jonathan. Just take the game to them. Play all four. Play all fucking four.
That's bold.
But we can afford to be bold, Jonathan. This is the thing. They have to literally come to us and win. Ask more questions of them. Don't be predictable for them. When because they already know what they have to do, right? And they know what they're up against to do so. You throw another curveball into what the actual opposition or you know what the challenge is in front of them. Go bold. I think you could watch legendary stuff. Take out Rogic, O'Reilly. Play all four. It
would be a big move. It would be a sensational starting 11 if he was to do something like that.
Okay. Right. Read it if you're the Rangers team. I'm sorry. I don't care how immune they'll think they'll be to it. They'll all shit themselves.
Yeah. Well, there is.
How does that work? That doesn't even fit. How they must have put 12 players on there. They wouldn't be able. They wouldn't know that already. You've got them on. You know, they're just shiting themselves, John, if they see all four of those names on it. And they're trying to work out how this is going to work. Are we changing formation? Are we playing the same formation? I honestly would play all four, Jonathan, and go. The knockout blow next week will be the fact we've seen Chaos, Kyogo, Maida, and Jota all playing in the biggest game of the season, basically the game we effectively win the league title. Play all four. the job's a good one in my opinion.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of different ways you could play it if he did go all four, because they're all pretty fluid. Apart from Giakoumakis, I would play through the middle. The rest of them you could really put in wherever you wanted. On that one with David Kelly's hit me on the head. I was just about to say with the work rate of the others in the round, and even Giakoumakis will do his share through the middle of closing people down. So for me, it would certainly be an exciting road to go down. It would certainly be, as I say, a bold move if Postecoglou was to do something like that. I take your point. It's certainly a game where we can afford to take a few risks, because it's not an absolute essential game for Celtic to win, not by any stretch of the imagination. Of course, we want to win it, because we know what's at stake. If we do win it, the championship is ours. However, we do have a little bit of leeway if things don't quite go our way, and
Exactly.
We've still got Motherwell and Hearts both to come at home, Dundee United away. There should still be enough in the tank there that even in the worst case scenario, and God forbid Celtic were to lose this game, that they can still bounce back as they've shown throughout the season and go on to win it. And it might well be a chance to take risks. Rangers are going to be a bit tired if we're looking at the opposition. They've got a Europa League game to play on Thursday night. They're going to be, you would think, a little bit leggy. Didn't affect them too much last time out when they played us after coming off the back of a European game, but I feel that's just because we didn't test them as much as we were capable of. I think if you were to put those four together in a team, that is really going to test their legs, as well. Whereas, if you have got a Roderick or O'Reilly in there, they're more luxury.
Take one of them out.
Way. Yeah, and that's where you could make the argument.
That's how you get away with it. It's how you get away with it, Jonathan. That is how you get away with it. That number 10 area is the way you can play the dream front four at the expense of those two. And by the way, listen, none of us are going to complain. O'Reilly, I thought, came on. Hamden, I thought he did all right, actually. I think he's been a fantastic signing for us. Rogic, when he starts against them, they get the fear anyway. And he gets us a bit excited. And he's got the proof is in the pudding with Rogic. He continuously seems to do it on the big occasion. But in terms of actually the tactic, you're going, that is the one position where you could take the hit. You could push the number 10 up top as well, because the number 10's not doing much defensive work anyway, if any. So why not put him up top? And your thing is, with the work rate of these guys, Jonathan, maybe Jota not quite as much as the other three, although I still think gives his all. You look at the other three. Imagine a Chaos Giakoumakis and Kyogo breathing down a goalkeeper's neck, or the first centre-half options there. Got to go long. You've got to go long. Maybe that might suit Rangers' game. I don't know. But for me, let's go for the jugular, Jonathan. I want the knockout blow to be because Celtic started all four of our main weapons on Sunday. Is it Dreamland? Perhaps it is. But it's a lovely thought, though, isn't it?
It certainly is. It certainly is. It's something that could well end up happening. I think the other key point to take away from obviously the Rangers game as well is the fact we're going to need to be stronger in the middle of the park. In this game, there's no two ways about it. I'm not sure who's in charge on Sunday. I don't really want it to become another game where we're talking about refereeing performances whatsoever. But, I think we've discussed at length, Bobby Madden didn't have his finest hour at Hampden Park from a Celtic perspective in any event a couple of weeks ago. And Celtic are going to need to be strong, prepared and ready to go in case we end up in a similar position where they are going to try and bully us against. I would imagine they're going to try the exact same tactics that worked at Hampden. Hopefully, whoever the referee is, will take a stronger stance like Kevin Clancy did on Sunday when Ross County tried a little bit of that. But you've got to be prepared.
Very glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
I think you're very glad. We were saying it yesterday on the post-match pish, it's not about making excuses. Celtic never lost at Hampden Park, Jonathan, because of Bobby Madden. But what I will say is, referees, if you think it's so fucking black and white, like they're trying to make out in the MSM that, well, that foul was at the halfway line, that didn't make or break the game. Yes, but it set a tone. And it allows Lundstrom to make 4 more fouls, 5, 6 more fouls of a similar nature. Because you've not got an early. Kevin Clancy, the first 10 minutes, books the boy O'Callaghan for Ross County, and suddenly his balls are neutered, mate. I'm talking about balls a lot tonight, but he was neutered like a dog, mate, and that was it. His whole game, his whole reason for being there has completely lost its purpose. Celtic allowed to express itself a bit more in that first half display we put in. As I say, it was a shame it was only 1-0 because we were so dominant. Anyway, it's been an hour and 25 minutes, believe it or not. And I know we've both got work in the morning because this is not a full-time job, Jonathan.
No.
We may well be on show 86 since the 6th of December. Not bad going, by the way. And it's, you know, I don't know how many hours of content that is that we've provided. We will try our best to keep that going. I've been blessed by the contributors that have joined us and the amount of like actual dedication that they've got to try and help. And like I say, if this was ever to become a monetized show, they will all get 50%, including yourself, Jonathan, 50% split of whatever revenue was brought in, because I do not expect people to give me their spare time for F all. Sadly, we're not quite at that stage yet, but we'll get there one day. We will get there one day as the bus continues to move from 30 miles an hour to 100. Jonathan, is there anything you'd like to bring up before we go? And thank you to everyone, by the 133 still watching live on a Monday night, 10:30. Incredible.
Madness, absolute madness. No, I think it's all kind of been covered off. Hopefully Celtic get the job done on Sunday. It's going to be a championship winning day, and obviously all the best for David, who's going to be doing the post-match pish.
He's a legend, mate.
And I hope that goes extremely well. I hope he's able to have a few bevies with the boys that are on that, and hopefully they're toasting another Celtic League Championship.
Absolutely. From me and from him, it's a very good night. Hail, hail. See you later.
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now, and you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan.